Welcome to Emily's Kitchen. I'm Miss Emily. Today we're here for Season 2, Episode 10. Can't believe we're already at the season finale. The season's gone crazy fast. I want to say a huge thank you to all of our fans that have been tuning in since Season 1. Welcome back. And also thank you to everyone who tuned in for Season 2. We always appreciate new subscribers. Also a huge thank you to my husband, Andrew. He's the technical brains behind all this, and without him, there literally would not be a show. We love doing this together and sharing it with all you guys, so thanks so much to everybody. All right, today we're gonna be making a special summer treat. It's mini key lime cheesecakes. Now, one of the best parts about this for me, I like regular cheesecake a lot. It's one of my favorite desserts, but it can be a little bit heavy sometimes. A little too sweet, a little too rich, and after a couple bites, you're already kind of done. With these like mini key lime bites, you get just a little individual serving, so it's done in just a few bites, and if you wanna go back for a second one, great. But it's also nice because the citrus juice really cuts a lot of that sugar, so it makes you kind of be able to have a little bit more. All right, mini key lime cheesecakes. Let's get into cooking. So to start out our key lime cheesecake, we're gonna start by making a crust. You're gonna need 1 1/4 cup of graham cracker crumbs in a small mixing bowl. To that, we're gonna add 1/4 cup of melted butter, and then about 3 tablespoons of plain sugar. That helps sweeten up the crust. And you're just gonna mix that together till it kind of has the consistency of wet sand. Alright, so that's about the consistency you're looking for, kind of pebbly, almost sand-like. So I've gone ahead and lined my muffin cup with 12 muffin liners. We're gonna take our graham cracker crumb mixture and spread that evenly among the 12 compartments. And then to tamp this down, you're gonna want to flatten it nice so we have a good solid crust at the bottom. You can use the back of a spoon, but I actually put some rubber gloves on because I just like to use my hands. So just divide this evenly among all your cups. It's really nice about these mini cheesecakes. You don't have to use a springform pan, which is really handy because most people have muffin cups already in their kitchen. Not everybody has a springform pan. Alright. And I kind of like having a thicker crust on the bottom, so I will be very generous with this. And if you end up having a little extra and you want to make a couple more, you might have some left over depending how thick you like your crust. Alright, so that looks about good. So then you're just going to start, I'm going to start pressing down, and you're just going to want to have a nice flat base. So I kind of take my knuckles like this and just press until everything is nice and tamped down. So these are gonna bake in a 350-degree oven for 5 minutes just to pre-bake that crust before we put a filling into it. And then you'll take it out and cool while we make our filling. So while our crust is baking, we're gonna go ahead and start mixing together the ingredients for our filling. I like to do this the best in a blender. I feel like that gets the creamiest consistency and makes it a lot more easy to whip together. You can also do this in a regular stand mixer or with a little hand mixer as well. I just like the blender because it's faster and it gets a really even consistency throughout. So first we're gonna add in 2 blocks of cream cheese. So that's 16 ounces total. And you're gonna wanna make sure this is softened cream cheese, that it's been sitting out for a little bit, makes it easier to mix. Also, if you're going with the stand mixer, really make sure it's softened because it's very hard to mix later on. All right, 2/3 a cup of sugar, 2 eggs, a 1/4 cup of key lime juice. Now, if you've never seen a key lime before, they kind of look like this. They're like a smaller version of regular limes. They're just itty bitty. So if you're gonna use regular key limes for this, make sure to get quite a few. To get that amount of juice, you need like 10 of the key limes, as compared to like, 2 limes regular sized. The only The only major difference in flavor for these is these are a little bit more tart and a little bit more fragrant than regular limes, but odds are your guests won't be able to tell the difference if you do want to sub in regular lime juice. You're also going to need a tablespoon of lime zest. I actually went ahead and zested a regular size lime for this, because trying to zest something this tiny, you're going to wind up cutting your fingers more often than not. All right, and then a 1/4 cup of sour cream. It's going to balance out all that sweetness. And then a teaspoon of vanilla. Put the lid on, and then we're going to mix this at the highest setting on my blender for about 30 seconds or so, or until it's all combined. All right, pop off the top. Take a spatula and scrape down the insides. Looks like we're already getting pretty close to the consistency that we want. Just nice and smooth. You don't want any weird lumps of the cream cheese in there, because that'll just kind of wreck the texture of your cheesecake. All right, lid back on. I'm gonna go about another 30 seconds. All right, perfect. You can see inside of here, it's a nice smooth texture in the middle. Everything is well incorporated and whipped. So now we're gonna get our crusts out and start filling them up. So our mixture is blended. I transferred it over into a small mixing bowl. It's a little bit easier to scoop out of than my blender and less danger that you're gonna get cut. We have our muffin crust bases with the nice graham cracker crust in the bottom. These have baked. They've been cooling for a little bit, but our oven is still set at 350 because that's what we're gonna bake it at once the cheesecake filling goes in. I've got 2 spoons that I'm gonna fill with. And you're gonna wanna fill these right up to the top, because it's not like a cupcake. It's not gonna expand too much, just a little bit, but you do want it nice and full. So just do a good dollop in each to start with, and then go back and see how much you have left over. And our filling is nice and super smooth from blending it, which I love. Just sometimes if you're making it in a mixer, it gets a little clumpy with the cream cheese, which is kind of gross later on. So I like this because it whips it and it's almost like a thick pudding. All right, and just keep scooping. This filling, I sampled a little bit earlier. It's so good, I would almost eat it with a spoon if there weren't raw eggs in it. But definitely don't do that. All right, so I've got all of them filled, so I'm gonna go back and just kind of get a couple that maybe didn't have as much filling in as I want. Just take the top of your spoon, just kind of pat it down smooth. You don't want to see any of that crust underneath. Just make sure that's good and covered. So these are gonna bake in your 350-degree oven for about 20 minutes. You want them to have a little bit of jiggle to them, but the top to be set. That's what we're going for. The edges might start to get a little light brown. If it starts to burn, definitely pull them out, because you don't want that top to get too much color. All right. Perfect. So these are gonna go in for 20 minutes. Then after that, you're gonna refrigerate them for 3 hours, but they can be up to overnight. So we're gonna go ahead and pop them in the oven. So the cheesecakes baked in the oven for 20 minutes, then they cooled on the counter for about an hour just to kind of come down to room temperature. Then I put them in the fridge for 3 hours. I also took off the wrappers because that's how I like to serve them. As you can see, we've got a nice crust here on the bottom and then our beautiful cheesecake on the top. So we've got all 12 out, and now we're gonna talk about decorating. So for decorating, I'm gonna go ahead and use just some regular Cool Whip. You can make homemade whipped cream for this if you like. That's up to you. You can also make a stabilized whipped cream by adding in some gelatin so it lasts a little bit longer. But I just have Cool Whip in a little piping bag. I'm gonna take it and pipe on a pretty little top. I don't think these need a lot of extra sweetness in the frosting because the cheesecake itself is already pretty sweet. And I'm gonna garnish it with a little tiny key lime wedge, just like that. And then a little bit of extra lime zest, just to make it pretty. Also will add a nice bright finish. And there we go.
Thanks so much for watching this episode of Miss Emily's Kitchen. Today we made mini key lime cheesecakes. As always, the recipe will be posted down in the description and eventually added to our website. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for watching Season 2. We're so happy to have you here watching, and hopefully stick around for Season 3. Alright, thanks guys.